All right, and we're back. We're back with Dr. Terry Wahls. We're talking about her story, living with secondary progressive multiple sclerosis. And what an amazing journey, inspiring journey. So, Dr. Wahls, I'm curious to know, first of all, what is secondary progressive multiple sclerosis? How does it differ from
Sure.
PPMS and the other couple? And then I'd love to know, how are you feeling now, this many years later? How is life treating you right now?
Well, I'll answer that one. That's pretty fun. So this morning's workout was a jog. So I jogged for 20 minutes on my treadmill. Then I went up and did a sauna, a near infrared sauna for 40 minutes. I took a cold shower. I am great.
Good.
And so let's sort of review what is multiple sclerosis, the various types. Multiple sclerosis is a autoimmune condition that leads to damage to the brain, cranial nerves, spinal cord, that's through the immune cells. When you have an acute episode, that's called a relapse, there is an enhancing lesion on an MRI. If you and that happens when you're young, under the age of 40. When you and 80% of people are diagnosed with relapsing remitting MS. So you have acute episodes of relapse, you get a little bit better. That's called a remission. There are some individuals, about 10%, who never have an acute relapse, who just have the slow progressive decline. That's called primary progressive MS. And then the vast majority of people with relapsing remitting MS, sometime between the age of 45 and 55, stop having relapses and have only the progression, that is shrinking brains, shrinking spinal cord. That's called secondary progressive MS. So I
Okay.
converted to secondary progressive at the time that you would expect at age 48. I probably, in retrospect, had two relapses the entire life. The first time when I had the episode of dim vision, and the second time when I had the weakness in my left leg. Otherwise, it really was more this progressive, slow progressive decline.
Okay, I appreciate that very much. I have a quick question here. In the PPM, people with PPMS I've seen, what I notice is, and I don't know if this is common, but it seems that the legs are affected more than any other part of the body. And I'm wondering if that has to do with the spinal sheath
Well,
unraveling or whatever. And how about
um,
secondary? What's happening in the spine? Is there usually a certain place in the spine where
so
you're having
what
anything?
tends to happen is if the legs are affected, that is a visible symptom,
Hmm.
and it's very visible that walking has become a problem.
Yeah.
A majority of people will develop problems with anxiety, depression, fatigue. That is not as visible. And they may have difficulty with brain fog. And those are the reasons people have to leave the workforce, is because of brain fog, anxiety, depression, fatigue. Uh, uh, Many people over time will eventually have difficulty speaking, difficulty swallowing and controlling swallowing. So they're more likely to cough, aspirate, and have pneumonias. But because walking problems are so visible, that is certainly apparent for people with progressive MS. And the
Okay.
longer you have MS, the more likely it is that you're going to be having gait or walking impairment.
Sure, sure. I've noticed in particular two cases, especially where the tibialis anterior is a little bit on slack. It doesn't want to do its job. Dorsiflexion becomes a challenge. Sometimes both legs, sometimes one leg. This is just what I've been seeing, um, which is limited compared to what's out there. Um, but you know that electro pulse, we call it electro pulse here, which is sort of like a TENS unit, except it's not a TENS unit. What we're using, it helps to fire up those muscles. It's
It
beautiful for
is very helpful. It
stimulation.
helps restore
Yeah.
that connection between the brain, down the spinal cord, out the motor nerve. If you do that along with voluntary contraction of the muscles, it
Hmm.
can be very, very helpful.
Well, I appreciate you sharing that. That just helps me to sort of reinforce what I've been doing based on what I've been reading, which is a lot of your work. Um, so moving forward, you're feeling good now. You mentioned the cold shower, cold therapy and heat therapy, the polar opposites. It seem to be very popular right now. It seem to be, especially the cold. highly
Yeah.
beneficial for many reasons. And are you finding that that's helping you?
Yeah, cold therapy is really great. I love ice baths. I love swimming in cold water. I used to take an ice bath every night before going to bed. And then my wife said, you know, honey, I don't like those cold legs. Would you do your cold shower in the morning? Because I'd rather snuggle with warm legs. So, in the interest of domestic harmony, I rarely do an ice bath in the evening. I'll do more cold showers in the morning.
Okay. I love how you put that. That was beautiful. Okay. Let's talk about this because radio minutes go so quickly. All right. About 4 more minutes, we have to take a break. Then we have another 9 minutes or so. I want to dig into the meat and potatoes here. Besides, before the end of the show, telling people where to find your book, which of course I'm sure we can find it all over the place and Amazon and everywhere. But what if we begin a takeaway message or suggestions? What should we do as humanity? First of all, what should we doing to take care of ourselves? How should we eat? And if you're into having a movement disorder, neurological issues, MS, PPMS, secondary, whatever, I'm sure a lot of that protocol just it all applies to all of us. We're all humans. What do
You
you
know,
advise us to do?
so I want to acknowledge that it's hard to change habits.
Yeah.
And so knowing why you want to do this, what you do if your health could moderately improve, have a negotiation with your family where the foods you're going to increase, where the foods you're going to decrease as a family will be very helpful. So I'll start with the ads: more non-starchy vegetables, sufficient protein, so 6 to 12 ounces of meat, non-starchy vegetables, a lot of greens, cabbage family, onion family, mushroom family vegetables, and things that are deeply colored. Then the things to remove. We know the more added sugar, the more ultra processed foods, and those are flour-based products, breads, cereals, pastas, the worse the health outcomes.
Mhm.
So reduce those. I specifically want you to take out gluten-containing grains, dairy products, and eggs because they often cause an abnormal immune response.
Okay.
That's a great start.
Okay. Gluten, dairy, eggs. Very good. Yeah, I wrote it down, even though I can listen to this now forever, but still, it's just prompting more and more thoughts in my head. So it appears to me then, not to be presumptuous, we're going to decrease our inflammation this way, and inflammation causes so many problems. It seems could be
Well,
maybe even the root cause of many diseases.
we need inflammation to maintain and prepare ourselves. So you have to have the correct amount of inflammation.
Mhm.
And you want to be able to repair, but not over attack.
Okay. And it's interesting. I've never heard of that before until correct amount of inflammation. How do we determine that? Is there a way?
Well, if you skin your knee, you need inflammation to repair the damage, and then
Mhm.
it needs to stop when you finish the healing process. If we have altered our cells so we can't recognize them as normal, we may begin to attack them, and that leads to the abnormal, excessive, ongoing inflammation.
Okay. All right. Very interesting. When we come back, we will continue with Dr. Terry Wahls here on Your Health Matters News Radio 570 WSYR. And again, it is available on 106.9 FM and, of course, live streaming too. You can Google that or go to my website, carlsterling.com, KARL Sterling.com, where you can live stream the show and you'll be able to hear this show forever on the recorded episodes there on the radio show page. Heading out for the last break, and we'll come back and do some more talking about the Wahls Protocol. Thanks for listening.